possible answers for set 2 of your AP European History Leqs. I'm not going to write a whole essay for you. I'm just going to talk about things that you could have chosen to include in your responses. So we'll start with number 2, which is evaluate the most significant difference between the colonization efforts of the Iberian powers, Spain and or Portugal, and the colonization efforts of the Atlantic powers, Britain, France, and or the Netherlands in the time period 1450 to 1700. And I love this because you can just choose one of those countries and one of those countries. And genuinely, if I'm choosing the easiest answer, I would have talked about Portugal and Britain, or I would have talked about Spain and the Netherlands. Regardless of which way you chose to talk about Spain and or Portugal, I think the easiest thing for you to bring up is talking about the Treaty of Tordesillas, right? So that is going to allow Spain to conquer Latin America, the modern day Latin America, whereas Portugal is going to get really involved in that Indian Ocean trade. Britain, in developing its colonies in the Americas, is going to really benefit from those traditional mercantilist policies, whereas if we're looking at Portugal and the Indian Ocean, they're controlling the flow of trade, not necessarily establishing colonies to the same extent that Britain is. And the same thing is true with Spain and the Netherlands, right? Spain is going to develop colonies in the Americas. The Dutch Republic is going to have some colonies in Indonesia, but they are more concerned, just like Portugal is, with controlling the flow of trade. Number 2, evaluate the most significant difference between the Sci-Rev and the Enlightenment. Well, the scientists in the scientific revolution are trying to figure out the laws that dictate the natural world, and the Enlightenment philosophers are trying to figure out the laws that dictate humans in a society. Or you could talk about how scientists in the scientific revolution are quite spiritual and traditional and religious, whereas people of the Enlightenment aren't, right? They start to shift toward deism and skepticism and atheism. And I love question 4. Evaluate the most significant difference between the status of women between 1815 and 1914 and the status of women after 1914. Cult of domesticity in that upper bourgeoisie class, women entering the workforce, gaining more rights. And remember, make sure that with any of these, you are using as much evidence as possible because you really want to show the readers what you know. Hope that helps. DBQ is next.